everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to explore a truly fascinating piece of living history from the village of Bio Rahong. We're talking about the Penthi Wiki Peso Bio. It's an incredible harvest ritual, but honestly, it's so much more than just an agricultural practice. It's this profound story about community, resilience, and the deeply rooted connection between the present and the past. So let's just dive right in and see what we can learn from this absolutely beautiful tradition.
Have you ever just poured your absolute heart and soul into a project, working incredibly hard day in and day out, only to find out that the results were essentially zero? It's incredibly frustrating, right? I mean, it literally leads to burnout. Well, imagine that exact feeling, but instead of a missed deadline at work, it's your entire community's survival on the line. That's exactly the existential struggle the ancient farmers in Baoyarahong faced. They relied completely on nature to survive, but at one specific point in their history, nature just wasn't cooperating at all. The villagers were working tirelessly. They were crafting, utilizing every natural resource they had, and literally pouring sweat into the soil. Yet, despite this immense draining effort, the results were minimal. The crops they planted simply failed to yield good harvests, and their daily life was becoming incredibly difficult. Despite doing absolutely everything physically possible, their heavy reliance on the land just wasn't paying off. And you can imagine a very real, deep anxiety began to settle over the entire village. Now, when a community faces a crisis like this, leadership is absolutely essential. And how they chose to address this problem? Well, it's a lesson in itself. They didn't panic. Instead, they gathered. They initiated what's known as lontoliup, or lontogama, which basically means sitting together or holding a council. It's a deliberate process of deep, collective deliberation called mushawara. The customary elders, who were known as the tuagundang, realized the community was in serious trouble. They knew they needed a collective solution, drawing on the wisdom of the group rather than just making, isolated decisions from the top down. Their guiding principle for this council was pretty straightforward, really, to deliberate together to find the actual root cause of the citizens' difficulties. The Tuagundang weren't just looking for a quick fix here. They discussed the situation earnestly, looking at absolutely every aspect of the villagers' lives. It's a really powerful display of solidarity, because they recognized that an agricultural failure of this magnitude wasn't just a farming issue. It was actually a symptom of something being totally out of balance in their world. So, after all this long, thoughtful deliberation, the elders finally reached a conclusion. And their solution might actually surprise you. They didn't decide to just go clear a different forest or invent some new type of plow. No, their decision was to execute the Penthi Weki Piso Beo ritual. They realized that what the community actually needed was a spiritual and cultural reset. They genuinely believed they had lost touch with their predecessors, the very ancestors who had passed down the land, the customs, and life itself to their generation. To fix their future, they needed to honor their past. And this realization, it quickly turned into action. After holding their council to thoroughly diagnose the issue, they shifted their focus entirely toward honoring those ancestors. This paved the way for executing the ritual at a very specific, sacred location called the Jindong One Link Piang. So this wasn't just some abstract idea anymore. It was a highly structured, community-wide plan of action with a crystal clear path forward. Okay, so what exactly is the Jindang Wanling Kopiang? Well, it's the traditional and sacred location dedicated specifically to these ancestral rites. Try to imagine the entire village of Biorahong gathering at this spot. And everyone took part. It wasn't just for the elders, it was for every single citizen. The atmosphere was incredibly solemn, filled with this immense respect and a shared, almost desperate hope for a better life. They meticulously followed the traditional steps passed down to them, completely united by a single purpose. And the outcome of this gathering was a true turning point for them. The days of severe anxiety, failing crops, and daily struggle left behind. Slowly but surely, lush harvests, good health, and tranquility actually took their place. Following the completion of the Pentiweki Peso Bio ritual to honor their predecessors, the citizens of Bio Rahong began to feel a very real, tangible, positive change. The crops that were previously failing began to grow fertile and produce these really abundant yields. It was a dramatic, completely life-changing turnaround. But here's the absolutely crucial point. The benefits extended way beyond just the soil. Yes, they definitely experienced thriving crops and an increased agricultural harvest, but they also experienced a return to good health. They felt this deep sense of security and protection from their ancestors.
And because they had gone through this profound experience together, their community bonds became so much closer, leading to a truly tranquil life. The ritual, it solved their practical need for food, for sure, but it also completely rejuvenated their spiritual and social well-being. Which brings us right to the core values embedded in this whole tradition. First up, solidarity, the literal act of coming together during a crisis to strengthen community bonds. Second, heritage, the essential need to pass down these customs to future generations to maintain their identity. And third, being appreciative, showing profound gratitude and esteem to the predecessors who gave them the land in the first place. This story really teaches us that being appreciative isn't just about saying thank you. It's this active, unifying force that literally ensures a community's survival. So, to just kind of summarize this incredibly powerful narrative arc, a severe agricultural crisis once threatened the village's very existence. But the turning point? That was the collective decision to look inward and upward, performing the ancestral ritual of Pentiwiki Pesobio. And that led directly to their present state, a community blessed with abundant harvests, but honestly, more importantly, a community anchored by a deep, unwavering tradition. This historical crisis didn't break them at all. It cemented a lifelong practice of respect. And you know what the most beautiful part of all this is? This isn't just some dusty history lesson from the past. This is a living identity. Because of the profound success and peace that followed that very first ritual, the people of Bao Rahang never abandon it. To this very day, they hold the Pentiwiki Pesobio ritual before every single harvest season. It's a vital, ongoing expression of gratitude for their health, their crops, and their lives. It's literally the beating heart of their community's identity, passed flawlessly from generation to generation. Now, I want to leave you with a bit of a provocative thought. Look at your own life for a second. In our modern, incredibly fast-paced, and let's face it, often isolated world, what ancestral rituals or moments of deep community solidarity do we personally need to revive? When we face our own modern crises, are we just trying to grind and work harder to the point of total burnout? Or are we taking the time to actually sit together, deliberate, and reconnect with our roots to find true balance? Definitely something to think about. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer.